Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Ignition Time. Let's take a look at highly unusual and somewhat bizarre comments from some Republicans at the recent Faith and Freedom Coalition. Let's take a look at Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas, who said that he initially had a call to arms, yes, a call to arms in his prepared remarks for the Faith and Freedom Coalition, but someone on his team told him to take it out. He instead said a call to rhetorical arms. How interesting. Let's take a look at Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas, in the Faith and Freedom Coalition conference. Let's roll the tape.
Now, as I was preparing these remarks backstage, I initially had a call to arms. And one of the folks on my team said, no, I'm sorry, you can't say that. No, in this environment, the numbskulls in the media, by which I mean all of them, the numbskulls in the media will say, see, it's a call to violent action. No, you nimwits. Because you need help spelling it out. Let me help you on this. A call to rhetorical arms.
In the meantime, Senator Lindsey Graham, another prominent Republican, and he's from South Carolina, apparently he's trying out some stand-up comedy about former President Trump at the Faith and Freedom event in Orlando. Extremely interesting that Lindsey Graham would try to be funny. I don't think he's funny at all, but let's roll the tape and check out Senator Lindsey Graham, the Republican from South Carolina, trying some stand-up comedy about former President Trump at the Faith and Freedom event in Orlando. Let's roll the tape.
The bottom line is we came to find common ground. That common ground is that he likes him and I've come to like him. So that will get you through 18 holes of golf. The front nine is about why he likes him. The back nine is why I like him. So.
And while we are on the subject of Senator Lindsey Graham at the convention, his dog whistling about the 2020 election results continue. He said, and I quote, 44,000 votes short, and we can argue about being cheated, and there was a lot of shenanigans, right? So you can start to see that Lindsey Graham and other Republicans continue to feed this notion that was essentially promoted by former President Trump. Let's roll the tape and check out Lindsey Graham, the Republican from South Carolina. Let's watch.
44,000 votes short, and we can argue about being cheated, and there was a lot of shenanigans, right?
And back to Senator Ted Cruz for a second. He said this, and I quote, critical race theory is bigoted, it's a lie, and it's every bit as racist as the Klansmen in white sheets. Now, I don't know how he can make the connection between the Ku Klux Klan and critical race theory, but I guess for the Republicans, anything goes when you're trying to create as much trouble, when you're trying to create as much agitation as possible. This is the very definition of false equivalence, and this is unbelievable from Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas, while his home state was suffering one of its worst power crisis, weather crisis ever, he decided to go to Cancun. So I like to call him Cancun Cruz. Let's listen to Cancun Cruz as he tries to create new trouble about critical race theory and how he dismisses it in an effort to cause trouble and stay relevant. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Now, what is critical race theory? You know, just this week on Capitol Hill, I had a reporter run up to me. He thought he had a gotcha. He said, hey, what's critical race theory? Apparently, he thought I would turn to him and say, gosh, I have no idea. I think it's really bad, but I just don't know what it is, because, conservatives are morons and we don't know what we're talking about. Like, he really did think this was such a, boy, he really got you there. And I explained to him, I said, well, it's a theory that derives from Marxism. Karl Marx viewed the entire world as a conflict between classes, between the owners of capital and the working man and women, the proletariat, a fundamental battle in society. Critical race theory takes that same Marxist concept, except it replaces class with race. And it says all of America and all of the world is a battle between the races. Critical race theory says every white person is a racist. Critical race theory says America is fundamentally racist and irredeemably racist. Critical race theory seeks to turn us against each other, and if someone has a different color skin, seeks to make us hate that person. And let me tell you right now, critical race theory is bigoted, it is a lie, and it is every bit as racist as the Klansmen in white sheets. As a Christian and as an American, I love my brothers and sister, whatever skin color you are, whatever ethnicity you are, whatever faith you are, whatever creed you are. We are commanded to love, period, the end. And those who would divide us, those who would spread lies, it is evil.
Now, let's take a look at comments from Congressman Ted Lieu, who's a congressman and who's a Democrat. And he said this, I quote, President Biden stood toe-to-toe with Vladimir Putin and challenged him on human rights, cybersecurity, and a range of other issues. This is in stark contrast to the former president who went to Helsinki and basically bent a knee. Folks, I remember the conference between former President Trump and Vladimir Putin, and I personally thought that it was absolutely cringeworthy. I thought it was humiliating for the United States of America. I thought President Trump came across as an inexperienced negotiator when speaking with Putin. And I thought that President Biden did a much better job. Let's roll the tape and hear the comments from Ted Lieu, the Democrat, the congressman. Let's roll the tape and watch.
I think President Biden did a great job at the summit. First of all, he strategically made sure that he worked with our NATO allies, strengthened NATO, and got the entire commitment of NATO before he walked into this meeting with Putin. And then he stood toe-to-toe with Vladimir Putin, challenged him on human rights, on cybersecurity, and a range of other issues. This is in stark contrast to the former president who went to Helsinki and basically bent a knee to Vladimir Putin.
Now, we had to mix things up a little bit right now. Let's shift gears and take a look at Senator Marco Rubio, the Republican from Florida, who was also speaking at the same Faith and Freedom Coalition in Orlando. And Marco Rubio said this. He said, social justice and equity are actually Marxism. Now, again, I don't know how these senators draw these false equivalents, but I guess that's the way they roll. That's how they try and create trouble. Let's roll the tape and hear Senator Marco Rubio speaking at the Faith and Freedom Coalition in Orlando, saying social justice and equity are actually Marxism. Let's watch.
What's happened is that Marxists realize what the track record of Marxism is around the world, so they don't want to call themselves Marxists anymore. They have found new titles. Things that frankly sound benign and you almost feel guilty being against. Social justice. Who can be against social justice? But that's the terminology they come up with. Equity. Equity. Who can be against equity?
And if you thought that was unusual, Marco Rubio goes on a very strange and unusual rant. He starts talking about oppressors and he starts talking about victims. I want you to listen and tell me if he's making any sense at all. I just think that he's rambling. And again, this is a typical pattern amongst Republicans as they try and create trouble, as they try and stir up agitation. Because at the end of the day, politics is indeed about tribalism. It's about us against them. It's about making the other side seem bad, trying to invent things to really agitate people. Because guess what? It's good for fundraising. So let's take a look at Senator Marco Rubio again as he goes on a strange rant about oppressors and victims. Let's watch.
The system is set up to benefit the oppressor versus the victim. And who's the oppressor? The oppressor, basically, if you listen to some of these people, is anyone who is a white, male, heterosexual. And everybody else, I guess myself included, being a Cuban American, is a victim. And the only answer is for government to step forward and create equity and make things fair. Tear this system down. And by the way, the oppressors, you need to acknowledge your oppression and you need to apologize for it.
And speaking of strange rants, let's come back to Ted Cruz for a second. And he's now focusing on the 2024 presidential elections. He says, I quote, "We're going to win in 2024 and send Joe Biden and Kamala Harris a one-way ticket down, finally, to our southern border." I actually think that's super interesting because while, again, Texas was in the middle of a major humanitarian crisis, what this guy decided to do was simply jet set off to Cancun. And while the Democrats have helped add over 2 million jobs, have significantly cut down hunger, have helped drop the unemployment rate, have helped in the distribution of vaccines, which, by the way, that program didn't exist when President Biden was inaugurated. And finally, we're having world leaders start to look up to the United States again. In the meantime, Ted Cruz isn't even able to help his own state and he's jet setting off to Cancun. Let's roll the tape and hear from Senator Ted Cruz as he goes on another troublemaking rant, and as he goes on to try and criticize pretty much anything and everything the Biden and the Kamala Harris administration do. He said we're going to win in 2024 and send Joe Biden and Kamala Harris a one-way ticket finally to our southern border. Let's roll the tape and hear from Senator Ted Cruz. Let's watch.
I got to tell you, every time I see some extreme radical thing happening in Washington, which would be every minute of every day right now, I am encouraged, because there's a natural pendulum to politics, and the further and further and further crazy left they go, the more the American people are going to bring us back and pull this country back from the edge of the cliff. It took Jimmy Carter to give us Ronald Reagan. Joe Biden is Jimmy Carter 2.0. And I'm here to tell you, revival is coming. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 5 says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. I'm here to tell you, morning is coming. We're going to win in 2022 and retire Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. And then we're going to win in 2024 and send Joe Biden and Kamala Harris a one-way ticket down finally to our southern border.
So that's it, everyone. Bizarre comments from Senator Ted Cruz, from Senator Marco Rubio, and others in the Republican administration, including the one and only Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. If you appreciate the high production quality of these videos, all I ask is you please give us a like. Please subscribe, please enable notifications. That would be greatly appreciated. That goes a long way in helping our channel. I want you to know that I work very hard on this channel behind the scenes, along with my production team of Joseph and Jeanette. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, please click like. Please subscribe, please enable notifications. We're looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Before I go, I'd like to ask you to follow me on Twitter. Right here is my Twitter feed. Follow me on Twitter. You'll get real-time breaking news alerts on Twitter, and you'll be able to engage with me on Twitter. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.